Hello everyone, thank you so much for choosing this video to watch today. My name is Jordan and I'm an amateur motorsport photographer. I've been doing this for about 3 years now and I've been learning a lot along the way. Oftentimes learning from my actual mistakes as opposed to what has gone well. So that's given me a good idea for today's video is the mistakes to avoid as a motorsport photographer. There's no particular order to these, they don't kind of come in any importance. Mostly what I could think of at the actual time of doing it. Some of them will be fairly obvious, as you can imagine, but a few of them might be a little bit more obscure, but they'll hopefully all help you out in the end. Like I said, most of these are all mistakes that I've actually made myself, and I just don't want you to have to go through what I went through. So, number one, let's go nice and simple, and that is to format your SD card or your CF card the night before. And what do I mean by formatting? Well, it's just a fancy word for deleting all the images of your previous shoot off your camera. So to give you some context of what happened, I turned up at Snetterton and I was ready to photograph for the day, and I already had a load of photos that I'd taken the previous day from a completely different event. Stupidly enough by me, I hadn't even put them on my computer, hadn't even backed them up. I think it was one of those things where I thought, oh, I'll just do it later, and then totally forgot about it. So this was taken on my 1DX, which I had a kind of relatively new CF card, and I've only got one currently. And instead of getting rid of all the photos from the previous day, like I said, I just left them, and I've turned up to that race, gone to take a picture, and it says SD card full. And naturally you'd think, well, you can just clear them out. But these are all photos that I haven't even put on my computer, haven't gone through yet. So I need them all. But yeah, that was a huge mistake. Very silly. So number one, nice and simple. Just format your cards, back up all your stuff beforehand, and turn up to a shoot with a fully empty card. For the second one, let's go even more simpler and even more daft, which once again, I have done. I'm not really painting a great picture of myself as a photographer here, but you know, this is one of those mistakes that I made in the early days, and I know we've all done it. Take your batteries off charge the night before and make sure that you either put them in your bag for sure or you put them back in your camera afterwards. It is the most embarrassing thing to pull up all the way to a shoot and then get ready to shoot and then you don't have any batteries, or if you've got one battery and it's still on charge back at home. Yeah, super daft from me. I did it a couple of times, but you know, I've learned from it now. So yeah, make sure you take your batteries off charge and put them back in your camera afterwards. These are all mistakes that you could probably relate to all different types of photography. So I probably should start moving towards more motorsport based mistakes. This is one that I made fairly early in the beginning, and it definitely held me back from my work and actually getting my work to be better. When I first started off, I didn't know a great deal about motorsport photography. I knew about motorsport, but I didn't know about motorsport photography. I didn't know what worked, I didn't know how to do it, I didn't know the settings or anything like that. And in fact, when I first did a shoot, I only think I watched one video on it. And that is exactly why that you want to be researching other people's work. So look at the different photographers there are on social media, go on YouTube, go on Instagram, go on Facebook, and just take a look at what other people are doing. From this, you're going to gain a lot of inspiration of what actually works in motorsport, especially from those much more experienced photographers. I did the classic thing at first where I kind of treated it like a competition and thought, well, I don't want to look at other people's work, I just want to concentrate on what I'm doing. And like I said, that massively held me back. It was only until I started looking at other people's work and looking at far more experienced photographers' work that I was able to kind of start pushing further. To kind of go along with that as well is actually engage with those photographers. So when you attend events or online, different things like that, it's good to chat to each other, ask people advice. Most people are willing to share a lot of the information that they know to help other people. There are far better photographers out there than me, and from each of them I'm able to learn at least something. I always find that like engaging with other people and kind of looking at other people's work, comparing your work to theirs is always going to elevate you to get better. Not to look at it from a competitive point of view, not to try and think, right, I'm going to be the best. Just trying to be the best of yourself, trying to be the best photographer that you can be. I just don't think that photography should be about that. Let's leave the competing to the races. The next mistake is getting a variety of different shots. There's a lot of different techniques that you can use in photography. Some of them are a lot harder than others, but the results are seriously cool. I'm a huge fan of the slower shutter speed stuff, where people are panning through crowds, managing to still somehow get the cars in such a good detail, but with lots of blur around them. They're quite chaotic looking photos really, but for me, I absolutely love them. Some people, on the other hand, aren't so partial to that. They prefer either a more straight up or rear end shot where the car is nice and crisp, super clean, and you can see all the details on it. So, you know, if you're getting some work together, you're trying to build a portfolio, it is very important to make sure that you can cross off the different areas of that. So front on shots, back end shots, panning shots, and then some of the more creative, slower speed stuff if you want as well. But I would definitely say kind of avoid having just either one particular type of shot that you go for every single time. Try and mix it up a little bit. This next one kind of adds on to the previous mistake, I'd say, and that is to not actually push yourself out of your comfort zone. Naturally, when you go to a race event, you want to try and get as many clean photos as possible, or as many of them where the car's in focus, but you've got a solid pan on there as well. This is all well and good, but if you want to start reaching those next levels, you're going to have to start pushing yourself. Start slowing down that shutter speed, start stepping back and panning through the crowd. Just generally, just try and experiment with something. See if you can see something at the track that maybe no one else has spotted and just have a go at it. If it doesn't go well, it doesn't go well. But just imagine if you get that one shot that no one else has managed to get, that could be all it takes. But if you're just going to be kind of standing in front of all the cars as they come past, nice high shutter speed, just clicking every single time, I just don't personally think you're going to get anywhere. Plus, anybody can do that really. If you just set up your camera and just point and shoot, you know, anyone can do that. Start trying to push yourself a little bit more. Now then, this is a mistake that I made not too long ago over at Oulton Park. And if anything, I was quite stubborn and thought, I don't need to worry about this because my camera's got all the water protection it needs. It doesn't matter, I don't need it. So I'll picture the scene. You're at Oulton Park for the British GT. It's an absolutely amazing event. But of course, because it's Britain, it is absolutely chucking it down. And you're me. You're thinking, oh, I don't need the rain cover, it's fine. The 1DX is weatherproof, and so is my Sigma lens. But on that day, I think from around 8 AM till about 3 PM, it rained pretty much non-stop. And no, I did not try and find any rain cover all day. I just kind of stubbornly carried on, thinking it would be absolutely fine. That was, of course, until my cameras got too wet and my lenses got too wet and they started completely fogging up. So from that point on, I was completely unable to shoot. So yeah, please don't be stubborn like me. Put a rain cover on your camera and your lens, and you won't have to worry about those foggy images where you're constantly cleaning your lens or cleaning the sensors or whatever. In terms of rain cover, I've got one that I bought off Amazon, but what I've actually started doing to be a little bit more cheap is to use just a bag for life, cut a hole in it, wrap it around the lens, electrical tape it, and then it gets completely covered. No rain gets in, and I don't really spend that much money, maybe like 30p over how much a bag for life would cost me. But yeah, make sure you waterproof your lenses. The last mistake I'm going to speak to you about today is to make sure that when you're actually at a racetrack, when you're shooting a race, make sure that you're moving around plenty. By moving about, taking lots of different shots, this is going to mean that when you do come back home, you're going to have a nice variety for your portfolio. At last season's British GT, which was my first ever British GT event, which was incredible. I absolutely fell in love with that event and try and go to as many as I can. I put myself on turn 1 for the race, and I probably stayed there for about 30 to 45 minutes. Now, while some of the stuff that I got in that particular spot was really good, I didn't manage to make it around the track too quickly before the race had actually ended. This is over at Donington Park on the GP circuit, so it's quite a lot of walking. Typical, I got carried away, stayed on turn 1, letting the cars come towards me, videoing and photoing, and yeah, just time slipped away from me. I went home from that event whilst I had absolutely tons of photos and videos. I didn't have that great variety that I really wanted from the event. This one is particularly important when you're only the one day of that. Thankfully, I've done 2 days. But yeah, if you're only at a 1-day event and you're kind of plonking yourself in one spot, yeah, you're not going to come home with that variety, and your portfolio is going to look kind of stagnant after a while. So yeah, super important. Try and maybe give yourself a bit of a time limit. I know it's really hard. It's, you know, you see a shot that you like, you want to keep trying to nail it or whatever. Give yourself 10 minutes, then move on. Find a different spot. Places like Donington have got absolutely tons of photo opportunities as well, so it's good to move around plenty. So that's going to be it for today. I've no doubt that I've missed out tons of different mistakes that other people have made or you've made personally. So if I have missed anything out, please let me know in the comments. I'll be highly interested to see what you've made mistakes on and how you've learned from it, and hopefully we'll be able to pass that on to other people as well. If you haven't already, before you go, please subscribe to this channel for some more motorsport videography and photography content. And if you want to see a little bit more of me, please check out my other social media channels, which I'll put in the comment section below. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.